Welcome back to another episode of Dark Crossroads. Today we're going to be covering a topic that kind of needs a trigger warning in the beginning. So this trigger warning is for anyone that has or is experiencing any form of domestic violence. If you are, or if you know somebody who is, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They are a 24/7 service and are experienced and equipped for handling any situations like these. You can contact them at 1-800-799-7233. So before we start, I also wanted to cover some statistics and the impact of domestic violence on both men and women. These are just the reported accounts of violence. On average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. In 1 year, this adds up to more than 10 million women and men. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of domestic violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence and were injured by an intimate partner in their lifetime. 1 out of 7 women and 1 out of 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime, to the point in which they felt very fearful or believed that they or someone close to them would be harmed or killed. On a typical day, there are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to domestic violence hotlines nationwide. The presence of a gun in a domestic violence situation increases the risk of homicide by 500%. Intimate partner violence accounts for 15% of all violent crimes. Women between the ages of 18 to 24 are the ones most likely commonly abused by an intimate partner. Domestic victimization is correlated with a higher rate of depression and suicidal behavior. 72% of all murder-suicides involve an intimate partner. 94% of the victims of these murder-suicides are female. Up to 60% of victims of intimate partner violence lose their jobs due to the reasons stemming from the abuse. Victims of domestic violence are also at higher risk for developing addiction to alcohol, tobacco, or drugs, and many other health concerns. Today we are going to be covering the unsolved case of Libby Caswell, also known as Libby. Libby was a bright, energetic, and loving young woman. She was an amazing mother to her son. She had a big heart and she loved her family. She was a cheerleader in her high school days and loved dancing, gymnastics, and modeling. Like many of us, Libby had seen her fair share of struggles, but she was getting her stride and things were looking up for her. Sadly, Libby's life would take an unexpected direction on December 11th, 2017. Libby's life ended way too soon, at the age of only 21 years old. In the early morning hours of December 11th, 2017, Libby and her on and off again boyfriend checked into the Sports Stadium Motel around 6 a.m. They reportedly consumed alcohol and drugs and were hanging out with a friend of her boyfriend's at the hotel. At some point, Libby and her boyfriend had a fight about his drug and alcohol use, and her boyfriend claims that Libby decided to take a shower around the time of 11 a.m. While this was happening, he claims that he fell asleep from being tired after being up the whole night before and while waiting for her to finish her shower. He claims that he woke up around 8 p.m. that night, and after not seeing her in the room, he noticed his belt dangling on the outside of the bathroom door. Her boyfriend says that when he opened the door, Libby fell to the floor with the belt still around her neck. When he was unable to find a pulse, he reportedly told police that he freaked out and left the scene and went to his dad's while calling 911. Police arrive moments later and interview a witness who says that he awoke to a fight between a man and a woman. He heard a female in the room saying, "Please stop hurting me." He claims this happened 20 minutes before the cops showed up, but he was not credible according to the officers. It is not stated why he was not taken seriously or was not credible. It just says that they could not take his sentence fully to heart. It's also important to note that the officers on the scene originally began working the case as a strangulation and homicide rather than a suicide. Libby's boyfriend, after leaving the scene, showed up 2.5 hours later around 10:45 p.m. to the Independence Police Department to talk to the police. He was interviewed by detectives and was a person of interest in her death, although he denied any involvement. Libby was discovered in the bathroom of the motel. She was on her left side, wedged between the toilet and the tub, with her boyfriend's camouflage belt wrapped around her neck. Her body was stiff from rigor mortis, which indicates that she had been deceased for several hours. Blood was seen coming out of her nose, and her feet were propped up against the bathroom door. The motel room was very disheveled with clothes, alcohol bottles, and a lot of other stuff all over the floor. Her boyfriend's friend that was there that night, hanging out with him, backed up her boyfriend's story by saying that Libby was suicidal and drinking vodka all morning. But Libby's toxicology report, however, contradicted this story, showing that she had no alcohol in her system. The thing that also contradicts her boyfriend's friend's story is that the witness in the room next door heard a female voice asking to stop being hurt, and there was a lot of loud banging afterwards that sounded like a man and a woman fighting. Numerous accounts from friends of Libby, as well as a caseworker Libby was working with, document repeated incidents of domestic violence. Specifically, her boyfriend had tried to choke Libby on several occasions, one of which was witnessed by an acquaintance. Her caseworker was looking for women's homes for domestic violence victims, but Libby was unsure about going to one. Libby's full autopsy was done at 10 a.m. on December 12, 2017, by the Jackson County Medical Examiner's Office. Her cause of death is asphyxiation, and her manner of death was determined unknown. Through my research, I was able to dig up the autopsy report of Libby's, and it will be posted on our blog site. If you go to the website www.darkcrossroadspodcast.com and you just go to the blog section, there will be a link to the autopsy report along with some pictures and a little extra tidbits about the case. But I'm just going to read some of the highlights from the report because I feel like it kind of adds to this case a little bit. So it states that her pathological diagnosis was asphyxia. There was belt ligature encircled around her neck with upward slanting. There were numerous petechial hemorrhages of lower extremities. It states that at autopsy, a camouflage pattern cloth belt containing metal rivets encircles the neck loosely. The unfastened belt is positioned at the posterior lateral aspect of the left neck. There also was a puncture abrasion within the left lower quadrant of her abdomen. And when they examined her neck, it was concluded that her hyoid bone and larynx were intact, so her hyoid bone had not been fractured. And in conclusion of the autopsy report, it was stated that their opinion was that Libby Caswell died as a result of asphyxia. In consideration of the autopsy findings and circumstances surrounding the death, the manner of death was determined undetermined. So again, you will be able to find the full autopsy report and all of their findings on the website, and it will also be in the show notes. In 2018, Libby's boyfriend was interviewed again by detectives a year later while he was in jail on an unrelated crime. He continued to deny any involvement in Libby's death. The case was eventually ruled a suicide and closed by the Independence Police Department. Libby's boyfriend is the only person who remained under suspicion because of his history with domestic violence and excessive drug use. Libby's mother has been working on reopening the case alongside with advocates from Alliance for Hope. Additionally, the Institute for Strangulation Prevention which has looked over Libby's case, says that her death is definitely not a suicide. If you know anything about the death of Elizabeth Libby Caswell, please contact Crime Stoppers. You can do this anonymously at 816-474-8477. You can also visit the Facebook page for Libby. There it is family members, friends, and also just the general public. And there is a lot of information about Libby and stuff to go towards this case. The Facebook page is titled Justice for Libby. There is a reward of up to $2,000 for anyone with information. You can also go to the mobile app p3tips.com and you can submit a tip there too. All right, thank you guys for checking in for another episode. If you know anything or if you know anybody who knows anything about this case, please don't be afraid to contact Crime Stoppers. You can do it anonymously and it will only help. It will not hurt. It will help hopefully bring this case a little closer to getting justice and getting her family the answers that they deserve. And with that said, don't forget to check out our social media. That is a great way to help support us. You can see us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the places. You can visit our website at www.darkcrossroadspodcast.com. There you can check out the blog site. It covers every case and all the random stories that we cover. And you can join our email list and get updates as we continue to grow. You can also join Patreon and get extra tidbits. You can see that at patreon.com/darkcrossroads. There are different tiers to join, and each one provides different things. Also, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe where you listen. And with that said, we will see you soon, and keep on creeping on.